When you're in those times where you're not sure where you're headed, as Holly just posted about this uncertainty, how do you figure out direction? For me, that's about purpose. It's the why. That's my compass in finding where I go. And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about in today's show on Presence is about purpose. How do you connect to purpose? How do you open to purpose both individually and shared purpose for an organization? I'm Ravi Tangri, and this is my co-host, Holly Duckworth from Denver.
Hello, Ravi. Good to see you today. I'm inspired by this show because as we were thinking about the topic, open to purpose, I had the opportunity to attend a couple different events and conversations. And one of the things I think we talk about a lot in spiritual circles is this idea of setting the affirmation or the intention of what it is you want to have happen. And then you state it in a positive way. I am a doctor. I am a nurse. I am making $1 million. But we often don't tell the transformative story, the transition story. And I think opening to your purpose is that process of understanding that our purpose may be changing and evolving breath to breath, day to day, week to week, month to month, where I think this sometimes is a generational transition, a generation gap that, in my generation, I still am of the era where, my dad worked the same job for 32 years. And certainly that is very, very rare nowadays. And our purpose is evolving. And in some cases, our purpose is linked to our career. And in others, our purpose may be less tied to career. So on today's show, we're brainstorming, we're talking about open to purpose and zeroing in on that word open. And Ravi, you were sharing with me the other day your thoughts that open is really about having no constraints, that we're not holding on to a specific outcome, but we're just really, truly laying back in the field of life, in the ocean, as you will, to the possibilities of every day, every breath, every experience, opening us to something higher and better.
Yeah, it's about allowing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not necessarily having to see the whole staircase before you step on the first stair. Are you open to just that one next adventure? I'll take one task, see how that goes, do the next and the next. But when we say open to purpose, I think sometimes people think, okay, this has to be this great grand master purpose. And for this show, we wanted to talk about purpose as maybe your primary heart pull, that thing that you do or create in this now moment that is what you're trying to become. I think of my journey on purpose a few years back. My purpose, if you will, was to teach volunteerism for nonprofit groups, and the project that was right in front of me was creating my book. Yeah. And that was a purposeful journey that I didn't know when I embarked upon it meant I was going to become an author. Some of the reading I was doing this morning is being to becoming. How are you starting to think about who you're being and how you're going to utilize that to become what you want to be?
And you see, that's what's cool about this, as we've said. You and I, we come at this from different places. For me, what you're talking about is a purpose that's a task-based purpose. On an individual, for me, purpose is something simple that permeates everything through all of your life, and it rarely changes. It may evolve or fine-tune, but it's very simple, a couple of words, but it's the energy of it that's the why of everything you do. So it flows into task. Now, if we go to definitions, the definition of purpose is the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists, what a person is trying to do or become. That's not really, to me, aligned with either one. But if you look up the definition of higher purpose, it is a more meaningful reason to live or work or whatever. And I think that is what there's a huge hunger for in our lives right now, both individually, what is our own sense of purpose, but in an organization, what is our shared purpose, our shared why? Not the mission, not the what, but why are we bothering to get up and, roll out of bed and do what we do. That's said in simple terms, not mission speak, not vision speak, but simple terms that people can really get excited about. Everybody in the organization can get excited about.
I pop that up to the word consciousness. What's your brain and your heart awareness of what lights you up? I think opening to purpose is opening to those things that light you up. And to your point, Ravi, as you're watching this show, we always invite you to look at things from where your experience connects to it. So, we're really moving the show in a direction to share more about these presence principles showing up in the workplace. And so for some of you, that may be the larger vision, mission, purpose, the why of your company. And for others, it may be looking at how you can inform those things into the daily tasks that you do. And there's no right or wrong. That's the gift of presence. Presence is in, through, and as everything that you do. And now we're giving you the opportunity to step back, open, and allow the purpose of those things to come through in all of the aspects of your life.
And I think the key thing to that is purpose is not something you invent. It is something you have implicit and internal. And it's about getting your head out of the way to open to allow it to emerge, and getting what it should be, what we think it should be, and allowing who we really are to come out, both individually and organizationally.
Yeah, I hope listeners have had that experience of you can't not do it. It's just so burning within you, you can't not do it. It compels you forward. That's how the book was for me. Even though it was 4 years in labor and delivery, I joke that I couldn't not do it. And opening to your purpose is opening to those professional experiences, those personal experiences that allow you to be your best self, that thing that you just are and you can just do easily, efficiently, and have a little fun doing it.
Yeah, and I think it's the ease is key. Is when we are on purpose, there is an ease, there's a flow. I may take hard work, but it's something that there's passion and energy for, and it becomes easy to do, to invest ourselves in that. So for me, as I say, there's two ways of looking at purpose. One is in terms of a task like the book that you spoke of. For me, it's the deeper underlying thing that underlies everything that you do. And there's a quote, right, that once you know the why, you can overcome any how. And it's the why. And where there's such a huge challenge now, organizations are facing such a huge challenge now with engagement. People are so disengaged in the workplace. So how do you get engagement? Not just someone just sitting on their butt, but actually fully there. But the same thing's true of our lives. How many of us go through our lives just on autopilot? Like we're just doing all these things. We're driving the kids here. We're doing this. We're doing that. That we're not fully engaged. If that's the case, then I would suggest that you're not connecting to the deeper why. And there's a possibility there. You'd still have to do the same things, but you much more enjoy it. If I can, I'll share an example from an organizational point of view of the power of purpose. I did a lot of work with healthcare, both here in Canada where I live, and I was involved in a project in the States. And where both projects we were working on transforming the healthcare system. And at a certain stage in each project, we had the whole system in the room, all of the players, everyone involved. We had 300 people in a room here. We had about 80 people in Ohio. And what we did, we used a process called World Cafe, which really slows you down to really be present and have the conversations you need. And we just kept asking people, what should the purpose of the healthcare system be? And then we moved people around and around so they cross-pollinated ideas. And after a full morning in each place, virtually every table came to the same definition, almost exactly, that the purpose of the healthcare system, and this two different healthcare systems, two different countries, same definition, purpose should be to treat ongoing wellness, or to support ongoing wellness and to treat occasional disease. Is that what we've got in either country? No. We've got an illness care system because we did not explicitly take the time to figure out what should the purpose be. So we've just reacted and built stuff on and built stuff on. If we had started with clarifying that purpose up front, can you imagine how different things would look right now? I mean, it would be about how do we stay healthy so we don't need healthcare, except in extreme cases where now it's just let's treat if there's something going on. We'd have completely different system if we had started from purpose. So for me, organizationally, that's a huge piece about how purpose makes a difference in terms of what we do.
I would be so bold as to say I think that may be why we're experiencing so many levels of space ease, uncertainty, confusion as a planetary experience right now, because so many fundamental core programs are calling for high level, deep consciousness shift, different beliefs, different changes to how they live, work, and play. And, we both run great, very successful companies. And I think it's, this is a great time to share our presence and our purpose of how we open to our purpose. And I feel so gifted this week. I had the opportunity to revisit my purpose in conversation with a few clients, and really brought me back to why I started my company. And I've known forever my purpose was to be a teacher. I always knew I would not be a teacher in a traditional classroom. God bless those people here and in every classroom right here, right now, from the wee ones to the college. That's not my purpose, but I know my purpose is to be a teacher. And I know that stems from my commitment to teaching leaders how to run positive companies. You see, my dad was a machinist at Freightliner for 33 years. He did a job that he didn't love, for managers he didn't love, in a company that he didn't love, didn't necessarily buy into the purpose, but it provided the life for his family. And I think my generation, and certainly the generations to come, and those circling to business right now, have a commitment to this higher purpose of presence and how they're going to show up in work and in life. So my purpose is to teach those people how to do that. And I don't know exactly what that looks like, but it's the continuous, open, and willing. And we're going to explore in the next few shows other ways we continue to open and we continue to allow. Ravi, I'll throw it out to you. Are you want to share the story of your open purpose?
Yeah, for me, I mean, my purpose is really about, well, I work with three things when I'm working with individuals, right? In my programs and my coaching. One is your purpose, one is your identity, one is your gift. And I'm happy to share, for me, my identity, I see myself as a midwife. I bring forth. Okay, my gift is I can see what's possible in others. We all have a gift that we bring into this world to share with others to help ourselves grow. And I can see what's possible, whether it's an individual or an organization. I can create processes to bring it forth. My purpose, I express as bringing forth. Okay, that's why I exist. It's in my work. It is in my relationships. It happens in my dance. It happens in when I'm exercising. I'm a creator, right? I'm bringing forth. I see what's possible and I bring forth. And so that permeates everything for me. And so if there's not that aspect of creation, I don't have passion for it. And I've learned that, I walk away if it's not on purpose for me. So as you are teaching, for me, it's about bringing forth and what's possible. And that's what's critical here is purpose gives us focus, and it also tells us what to say yes to, but more importantly, what to say no to, right? Is this on purpose or not, corporately or organizationally? And also, you'd mentioned about your dad and how he worked. Back then, that generation, the veterans generation, the baby boomers, if you said, what do you should enjoy work, they go, what? Are you nuts? You work for a living because you're a provider. Now the younger generations are demanding meaningful work. If you want to engage them, they need to have a very clear link to how their work is making a difference. And you know what, baby boomers, as they realize that's an option, they'll go, oh, okay, I'll take 2 pounds of that to go, please, as well. They never realized it was an option before. So if you want engagement, you have to have that sort of focus of why. How are you making a difference in the world?
Yeah, and I want to add, Ravi, too, that no matter where your heart lights you up, let that be your purpose. I had a beautiful Facebook post from a girlfriend this week, and it's a photo of her daughter who's a special needs 20-something, and it's her first job at Starbucks. And you can just see the light of her purpose. And while the outpicturing of the job may be being a barista, her inner purpose to help and create smiles for people comes through in this beautiful daughter and this picture of Starbucks. So let your purpose be, I have a new book I'm working on, Be You to a Full, Be Beautiful, your purpose is that thing that allows you to be you to a full.
Yeah.
So Ravi, we wanted to share on the show a special tool we're going to use for the new shows called the You Process. It's a framework for looking at purpose. Why don't you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is going to shape all of our shows through October. And we're starting with purpose, and actually it's going to bring us back to purpose in the final show as well. And what the You process is, it's not anything that anybody invented. What happened was some people went around and looked at people who were really phenomenal at designing effective change. And they found certain patterns. And so instead of inventing it, they observed these patterns and found that there was this process people went through. And at its simplest, the You process is about slowing things down. Like if you have a problem, let's say you're here and you've got a goal. Generally, we are so action oriented, right? In our side, problem, solve it, let's go, boom. But really what happens if you don't invest the time, what you're doing is often you're just solving symptoms. And so that's why here I'm just going to share a desktop of a couple of images off the net. The You process is about really slowing things down. So instead of just jumping across the top of the U, we call it jumping the U, and reacting and taking action, sort of like taking an aspirin for the headache, but meanwhile the tumor goes untreated, right? What you do, the You process, it's about slowing it down. Coming down the left side of the U is called sensing, where you're going in and really finding out what the issues are, what different stakeholders are thinking. And by the way, this is for organizational change, but it also applies just as well to personal change as well, this whole process.
So Ravi, let me pause you for just a second. If you're listening to the show and you're not getting the visuals that we have here, what we're looking at is a screenshot. It's like a U, like an upside down umbrella. So Ravi starting out on the left side, and he's moving us down through the U to the right side.
Right. So the left side going down to the bottom of the U, thank you for that, Holly, is called sensing, where you're going out, understanding what the different perspectives are, what's going on, all of that. The bottom of the U is where it's called presencing, which is really what we're about. And in this diagram I've got, it's talking about reflecting. That's where purpose comes in. It's about connecting to what's your individual purpose, what's your shared purpose, what part of this are you on fire for that you really want to take action on. And there's time for reflection there where new possibilities can emerge. This is where you uncover what are the root issues, not the symptoms, but the root issues, the systemic issues that really need to change. That's where the shared vision can emerge. Then you can move up the right side of the U to act. And that's where you co-create different things. There are different solutions that really work at the root issues. Now, there's another diagram I'm putting up here about the U that's got, don't worry about, for those of you who are watching, about all the details here, but what it does, it breaks it down. Like some people move down a little bit down the U and then still go across without getting down to presencing. But the first level is suspending what you think needs to be true, observing, really understanding what different perspectives are. It's about opening your mind, and that's what our next show is about how do you open your mind so that you can start to see different perspectives. As you go deeper, you get into the why of these different perspectives, and that's about opening your heart to new possibilities. And then finally, if you can go right down to the bottom of you, that's where you really do the deep presencing work. That's about letting go and letting come, about letting go of what you think should be and allowing the new solutions to emerge as you move forward. So you can jump across the you and just react. You can go down a little bit, open your mind, find some better solutions. You can go down deeper before you go to action, open heart, or go all the way to open will, where you're saying, what's really happening here? Where's my sense of passion and fire? And where do I want to really take action? So what we're going to do in October is break down the next 3 shows. The next show is going to be both in your work and in your home life. How do you move to having a more open mind? Where, what are things you can do? Then how do you move to opening your heart to other, even deeper possibilities? And then finally let go of what you think needs to happen, to let come what needs to happen at a much deeper level, where your fire, where your purpose is. So that's the flow for this month. And it's a very neat way to look at how do you move forward, both organizationally and personally.
We will make sure that we get some of those slides and images available for people to download. And as you said, this is going to be a 4-week process. But I think as we're starting to move into tips, my first tip for people is to do what you said. Slow down a little bit. Give yourself an opportunity to breathe and to respond rather than react. And one of my tips on this is I use my driving ashram sometimes as my
Sorry, you were breaking up there, Holly.
Reflect. We've talked a lot of
you were breaking up
the
there.
driving. I use my car as a driving ashram.
Okay.
As a place that I can reflect on the day, reflect on a meeting, if I'm moving from meeting 1 to meeting 2. We've talked a lot about meditation, and that often conjures up visions of sitting on the mountaintop. And part of your work, Ravi, is about moving mindfulness from the mountaintop to the meeting room. And so as you're looking at your purpose this week, or you're looking to slow down, find those moments where you might be able to find an answer within, even if it's in a moment in the car or while you're waiting for your Starbucks coffee. So that's one of my first tips. Go within to find your purpose. And if you have to do it on the road, do it on the road, but take those moments of reflection.
Well, another way that builds on that is using something we covered in our show on intuition a few weeks ago about your heart voice. You can go back to the archives on YouTube, on my channel, to find that. But basically, it's taking that internal chatter voice and gently moving it down to your heart to really access the heart brain that we have there, which is the doorway to intuition, and ask, if you've got a choice to make, which is the choice that's on purpose? Or if you can't hear an answer, just feel where the energy is, which one has more energy for you. And that's a huge source of information for you about your deeper wisdom and about what's on purpose. And a lot of times we will do what's practical, even though our gut says, our energy says we should go left. We say, no, it's more practical to go right. What I encourage you to do is don't change what you do, but keep track of that. I'm a scientist, again, keep track. And I have found in my experience and people I've worked with coaching, it's been pretty much 100%, no matter how practical the action they took, it was what their gut said that was the right thing to do, because caca happened that they could not have planned or expected. So don't just take blind faith, prove it to yourself, whether that inner knowing works or not, because everyone I've worked with has said, yeah, I sort of knew I shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyway.
Another tip that I have, a very simple one, goes into the breath. And again, that slowing down. And I use a mantra from time to time. Breathe in open, breathe out willing. You're sitting in that board meeting. Maybe you do agree with the decision. Maybe you don't agree with the decision. Maybe you don't understand. But again, the show's about presence, living, leading consciously, leading yourself, your own reactions, being willing to have an energy that supports the highest and best. And so there's been many times I've sat in a meeting and I just, in my inside voice, I go, breathe in, open, breathe out, willing. I'm open. I'm willing to see this differently. I'm open. I'm willing to see this differently. And in that slowing down, I find my purpose, what is mine to contribute to that conversation, be it in actual speaking, be it in writing. And sometimes it's just simply opening the space for somebody else who has a thought or an idea that might come into the higher purpose for the organization. I am open. I am willing. And
that's, again, using presence as a real ability to you are being present to find that. If you're looking at in an organization, you can start bringing your team together. What I did, the World Cafe format, you don't have to use World Cafe, but in small groups of 3 or 4, have them have conversations, not what is, but what should our purpose be. And in plain, simple English. Not in vision speak or mission speak, we strive to be a world-class provider of insert subject here. It's just cannot, and for those who didn't see the video, I was like making a gagging motion. I mean, those are totally, utterly, completely waste of time and energy because they don't have any fire to them. You're being so politically correct, you don't inspire anybody. So it's in simple English, what is the why behind everything you do? And start having conversations with your people in that. And when you feel you're on purpose, when you're not, because that's how you deepen your understanding. Well,
Ravi, this is one of those tips that might be just a slight bit off of the tip you just gave, which was create that why statement in such a way that it does inspire. Because I believe that when you do have that you should love it and be so passionate about it, that you should have it on your letterhead, that you should state it as a team before every meeting, that you should reconnect to it all the time. So yes, there are plenty of vision and mission statements out there, and everybody has a different theory on this. But for me, I really believe you should find your 6-word why, or 10-word why. Yeah. What's your tweetable why? And so my tip is, in your company, if you don't have that why, get it. If you don't have it for your personal life or your family, get it. And memorize it with your head, memorize it with your heart, and have it on your nightstand or on your desk so it inspires you to do that which you do. I mean, I talked about, my business purpose: educate, connect, inspire future global leaders so that people like my dad don't have to go to jobs that they hate, that there are jobs and experiences for people they love. And I have that educate, connect, and inspire all over my house as a way to inspire me. And then certainly when I bring on new team members, they start from that place.
Yeah, and I love what you said about the 6 or 8 words. The only thing I'd say is maybe on your letterhead, maybe not, because purpose, for some organizations, it really is for your people. Your customers may or may not know it. For some, yes, it makes sense. For some, it doesn't, right? So it's got to be your people know it. And I think you have to be situation specific whether you use it in your marketing, because it may or may not be your brand, right? It's why your people get up. But the simplicity is key, and totally that everyone can feel on fire. The most stark case I remember, I went into an organization that had literally, their mission statement was an 8.5 by 11 sheet with like 13-point type, that full. And it was up on every manager's wall, and no one could recite more than the first 2 words. They had no clue. They glazed over. And what we did was we got them to throw that away and create, I think it was about a 9-word statement about why, that everyone in the organization go, yeah, that's how we make a difference. Simple. And they could recite it, but not just recite it with passion.
Well, fantastic, Ravi. We have filled this show with a lot of great stories, anecdotes, tips, and giving you some ways to think about opening to your highest and best purpose. I know we have a few more tips. Let's save those for the next show. And let's talk about that. What are we going to do next week? Open your mind.
Yeah, so it's how do we start moving down that U, and in terms of letting go of all our thoughts and structures about how things should be and whatever, and open to different perspectives. So that's really what we're going to dive into as we go through this month. It's about how do you go deeper and deeper down that U so that you can get much, much more powerful solutions. People think that, you got to act and react because we don't have time. The thing is, we create such problems with those reactions. Yeah, there was time management book from years ago. I remember the title still sticks with me, that if you don't have the time to do it right the first time, why do you have time to do it over? We always have time to fix the problems, but we never make time to do it right. This is about doing it right first time.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, listeners, for listening, for watchers, for being a part of Presence, How to Live and Lead Consciously. We know that this month we are going to be opening to our highest and best life. And thank you, Ravi, for great tips. We'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yes, and remember, you can subscribe to this on iTunes and also catch the shows on our Facebook feeds. And there are some really exciting changes coming up. Have an amazing weekend. I think it's Columbus Day for you, Holly, and Thanksgiving for us in Canada. Have an amazing long weekend, folks, and we will see you next week.